Hey, this is PJ, and this is episode number 31 of the PJ and Pals podcast. My guest today is a good friend named Joey Morency. He trains out in Evolution Gatineau with me. He's actually recovering from ACL surgery right now from a fight back in November. But we talk about that, him hurting his knee, how it happened, some of the rehab that he's doing about his surgery. Joey, fantastic fighter, great at jiu-jitsu, and also very knowledgeable when it comes to strength and conditioning. He owns a strength and conditioning program. He's a coach of Nation's Strength, which helps all the guys out in Gatineau for Evolution. So we talk a lot about that. He's very knowledgeable. We talk about fighting, some of our past fights. We talk about the time we went up to Montreal and he broke his nose. So lots of fun things to talk about in this podcast. I hope you enjoy. I want to apologize for the little 2-week hiatus that happened in between episodes. I unfortunately had to cancel on my guest last week and didn't get a replacement guest in time, but I'm going to reschedule with the guest from last week to another week. But again, thank you for listening to all the episodes that you have checked out. I hope you're really enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun doing this, and this is episode number 31 of the PJ and Pals podcast with Joey.
I'm not sure if he's just doing that full time now or if he's doing something else, but yeah, he's affiliated with Nick Curson, that guy who trains Rafael Desanio.
Speed of Sport.
Speed of Sport, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hold on. Oh, we've been recording.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're in. Perfect. Yeah, so Speed of Sport. You know a lot about this stuff. I think he was on Joe Rogan's podcast once, right?
Yeah, once or twice, yeah.
And I was trying to sign up for his stuff because it's all plyometrics, but I'm way too lazy for plyometrics.
Yeah, the thing with that is I think the Speed of Sport guys and their whole system or their philosophy of training is to skip all the weight training. I shouldn't say skip because I don't know if they necessarily skip it, but they're not proponents of lifting. Mm-hmm. That being said, they're usually training guys who are already pretty advanced and have the strength base, so they don't need to be doing much strength stuff anymore. So they focus on what's most important is the speed and power development, so that top peak of the pyramid.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that base, it's hard to just jump straight to that. Mm-hmm. There's progressions involved and stuff like that.
Okay, so that's the intro to this, because obviously you know what you're talking about. You're Joey.
Well,
you are a strength coach at National Strength. No,
Nation Strength.
Nation Strength. I knew that. Sorry. It's only on everybody's shorts at the gym. But that's your company, right?
Yeah, that's my business. I felt like the way to go is to not name whatever you're doing. Even if it's just you shouldn't just say it's my business is it's me. It's Joey Morency. I'm a strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah.
Good to put a name on it, especially since I'm in this for the long haul. Mm-hmm. If I end up with more coaches or a facility, bigger things, it's nice to have an actual name from the get-go. Yeah. So that if things go well and eventually more and more people are going to want my services, they're going to want Nation Strength and not just me. Yeah. So it's better for guys working with me or for me in the future.
Well, it's like the whole you see that a lot with a lot of trainers, like Training for Warriors, which is Jim Miller's coach guy. I forget his name.
Martin Rooney.
Yes. Yeah. I used to follow his was one of the very few books where I bought and I was religiously followed. He had I want to say 12-week program and stuff, and I used to do that, and then I would start at the start again. It was a lot of fun, but it just got boring after a bit. And there's also what we were saying, Speed of Sport, right? So makes sense that you have your own brand, and then eventually you'll have other little minions. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you're opening it up in your own gym. Is that official now? Because you took out some of the stuff at the gym, right?
Yeah. So initially I was running Nation Strength out of Evolution, where I do my MMA training. Evolution. In Gatineau, several affiliates in Canada, even in the world now, I think. Dan is doing well.
N1 no longer, though.
No more N1. I spoke to Brandon a bit. That's all I'm going to say about that. I don't think there was much drama, but I don't know the extent of it all.
Yeah,
nor do I really care.
Nobody really told me. They just told me that it was they were no longer affiliate. Naren never said anything to me. Brandon never said anything to me. I heard it from people, and then I just like was like, can I still come and train with Kevin and Zach and you? And they're like, yeah, sure. Like,
Perfect. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and I only do come out like once, twice a week, right? Like, because it is, as you can see, I live on the other side of town.
You're a ways away. At least 45 minutes.
Yeah, and like now, right now it's tricky because the bridges are out, or like one bridge is out and one's on construction. So Tuesdays and Thursday nights it goes down to one lane.
Yeah.
So if I go to jiu-jitsu and then I leave to go to Evolution, it takes me usually it would take me like 20 minutes to get to from our Canada to Evo. Now it's taking me about 40. So it's a big jump. But
yeah.
Anyways, how's the knee?
Knee's coming along really well. Knee rehab is interesting because you can't do a lot, right? So the things you're doing pretty well. So like you wake up one day or you're just at work or I'm at work and I'm just like, man, like this is great. And then I go do my rehab training and then I realize, oh, like the first thing I'm trying to do is take a single step up onto a 6-plate box using just my injured leg, like a step up, right? Mm-hmm. And that is excruciatingly like painful.
I bet, yeah.
Like I have to really focus. It's very difficult. And then I also train the other side, right? Because fun fact, actually, the term cross training actually comes from like physiotherapy, where you're training across the body. So you're training one side to cross train the other side. So like in my case, my left knee is injured, so I'll train my right knee along with the left, because it's almost like teaching you or reminding you, showing you that you can do it with the right, so you should be able to do it with the left, or like you can do it with the good side, so you can do it with the injured side. So like I'll do my step ups on the right leg, even though the right leg is fine, and I could probably do 600 steps, and with the other one I'm struggling to do 5.
Yeah.
So as good as it feels, it's still a long road.
So I guess it's kind of like a mental thing, right? Like,
yeah, like mentally I feel fine though. Like
mentally training your.
Oh no, it's very mentally stimulating too. Like it's just you really have to focus and try to feel the muscle. Like I'll even like touch my leg and try to feel the quad muscles engaging, and it's tough. It's fun though. It's kind of like being a noob all over again, where you're lifting weights and you're gaining muscle fast, you're putting on strength really quick.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's just like the gains are like, oh, I can do a squat with 50 pounds now. Before, like at my best, I was probably doing it with 400 pounds.
Yeah. So you're noticing like an incline on your stuff quicker, right?
What's that?
Like you're noticing like you're.
Oh yeah, no, it's even daily. You feel improvements.
That happened to me recently. So about 2-3 months ago, I started going back and lifting weights. Right, like I was at work. I got a job during the day where I was just lifting drywall and all that stuff. But like at lunchtime, it was like 45 minutes to an hour of doing nothing. So I got a gym membership and I started going to Good Life and lifting, and I hadn't deadlift, I hadn't squat, I hadn't bench pressed in like a year. Right, so I started doing that stuff, and like first week I couldn't even bench a plate on each side. And then within like a month, like I'm back to what I was a year ago. I'm noticing more muscle and stuff like that, but it's just like, is it because I took a year off and then just like I started back again, or was like I don't, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm not familiar with the science like specifically on how that works, but whatever muscle, whatever strength you had in the past and lost definitely comes on a lot quicker. They've seen this or shown, at least demonstrated it in studies. I can't reference any of them. I'm not that guy. Like I'm more of familiarize yourself with the studies a bit. Maybe read a couple of summaries and read like a way smarter person's opinion or take on a bunch of these studies, and he comes up with not the narrative, but like the summary.
Yeah.
Like basically, here's what it is, because I'm not the guy who's going to spend hours and hours every day going through studies as much as I'd like to. But I have a job and other priorities. But anyway, all that to say is like the whatever you had before and lost, it definitely comes back quicker.
Quicker. Because I've heard it before where like Ronda Rousey said she lifted so many weights when she was a kid, she never needs to lift weights again because the muscle's still there. And I'm just like, I don't think it works that way. But
not quite. But she probably maintains a good baseline strength for her sport.
Yeah.
Where that she doesn't need to lift very, very often or very much. And I think that goes back to the whole Nick Curson thing. Like, Rafael dos Anjos, one of the guys he trains, is probably not lifting weights a bunch, just doing a lot of plyometrics, a lot of speed training, a lot of top of the pyramid kind of development, right?
Yeah. Rafael dos Anjos is like an interesting guy to me because he's like he was never he was champ obviously, and fought for the welterweight interim belt, like almost champ of two different divisions, but there was nothing he was like amazingly special at. Like he was a great athlete, great at jiu-jitsu, great at striking, but like he's not like a Damian Maia on the ground. Like he got beat up bad by Khabib.
He's not a specialist. I'd say he entered MMA with solid jiu-jitsu, though. I think he had medaled at the Worlds in the gi and no gi, if I'm not mistaken, at purple belt. So he did have a strong jiu-jitsu background.
But you know what I'm saying, right? Like,
yeah, no, for sure.
But like, and he's just like, but he's always like, he like outstruck Donald Cerrone. Like he's just got like, he's not a specialist, but because of his physical ability, like he can win fights.
And even when he started, he wasn't your typical or stereotypical athlete, right? Like he's not this like super explosive. He's not like a Kamaru Usman or a John Jones or Daniel Cormier. Like he's not that guy by any stretch, and you can see that in his earlier fights. I think it's just a good example of a true martial artist or MMA fighter who just got better and better over time. And Chael Sonnen said this, and I agree. I think Rafael dos Anjos has the toughest schedule in MMA. This guy just goes from fighting one killer to the next and never seems to let up. But nobody really talks about that. Like,
yeah, he flies such under the radar. Right?
Yeah, kind of flies under the radar. He's been fighting tough guy after tough guy. Like just in the last couple of years, it's been like Robbie Hall or Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman, Kevin Lee.
Yeah.
Now he's fighting Leon Edwards. That's another good fight. I can't wait for that one. That's a really good.
And fight. That's excluding all the tough guys he fought at 155, right?
Yeah.
Like,
no, he's
list the guys
he hasn't had an easy fight in a long time.
No,
not that there's many at
but
his level
he's
anyway.
Never talked about it as like one of the greatest. He's never talked about like even in the conversation when you talk about lightweights right now that are like in the picture, like you could still bring like RDA could drop down to 155 again, and he should still be in the conversation.
If he could, he still would be for sure.
Yeah,
he probably could, but man, he's pretty stocky.
Yeah,
he's pretty big.
I was surprised when he made 155, but
yeah, he's very jacked, very like broad, muscular guy. So
Zach was telling me yesterday that TKO is changing their weight cutting policies.
Yes.
So did you hear about this? What do you think about this?
I did. I'm in favor. So basically, what they're doing is they're going to do a weigh-in before the official weigh-in. I believe a day before or 2 days before, and then they're going to weigh you in on fight day. They didn't say what time they're going to be weighing you in on fight day. I'm assuming it's going to be a couple hours before the show when they already have everybody at the venue. But I don't know. And they're saying you can't put back on more than 10 pounds,
which is gonna be really surprising for big guys.
Yeah. That's the unfortunate situation is that applies from flyweight to heavy. Not to heavyweight, but to light heavyweight.
Yeah,
and 10 pounds for a light heavyweight is a lot less than 10 pounds for a flyweight.
Yeah.
Ratio percentage-wise, so.
Yeah, like, because for me, like, I'm not the best at cutting weight. Like, right now I'm pretty heavy, but, like, I train for 2 months straight, lose 30 pounds of fat, but then I can only cut, like, 10 pounds of water. So for me, like, these horrible cuts, like, I'm only 10 pounds lighter. It's not like I'm cutting 20 pounds. Like, some guys, like, that we know of, I'm not going to mention any names or anything like that, but there's one school in particular where guys cut like 30 pounds. Like, it's crazy. Yeah.
Well, so they say anyway. Yeah. I know they're cutting lots of weight, but I don't. You know what? Let's just say their name. It's New Era. We're talking about New Era. We're talking about they've got a good stable of fighters.
I don't think any New Era guys are listening, so don't worry.
Yeah, like I don't think the 10 guys that I have listening, my quote unquote fan base, which I do not have, they don't care. But we're talking about New Era and the claims that Jeff Harrison makes that the guys are cutting hundreds of thousands of beads of sweat and 30 pounds and 20-pound water cut and all this shit. I know they're cutting a lot of weight, but
you don't think it's that much?
I don't think it's as much as they say. No, just from a physiological standpoint, I think it's bullshit.
Well, like Alex O'Neill, like
he's cutting a lot of weight. He's a big guy.
He's a big guy, yeah. Like, cause I fought 55ers. I fought a guy who cut from 190 to 155. Like, I fought him, and he was a big guy, and Alex O'Neill was bigger than him. Like,
I mean, I fought Alex O'Neill twice at amateur.
So you would know,
at 185.
Yeah,
he was a big dude.
Yeah, and I'm sure he cut to get to 185, right? Like,
yeah, we both did. I used to cut not much though. I would cut around 5-10 pounds.
Day of, yeah.
I would. Diet a week out, mainly just manipulate my carbs to get my water weight down, and then maybe do 4 to 6 pounds in the sauna the day of the weigh-in. So it'd be a very easy cut. Some guys my size were probably cutting down to 170 for amateur same day, but
which is a lot.
I that's not my style. I never agreed with that, and I never felt at a size disadvantage ever. So
I never cut a whole lot of weight for amateur. Like, I did cut weight, but I remember, like, I had fights at 140 amateur, and I would, like, right now you're like, how did you make 140 day of? I was walking around at 147, 148.
Yeah, this was a long time ago. You're a younger, smaller guy, right?
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago, and then I took a year off of fighting, and I did get a little bit bigger. I remember walking around at 157 and then cutting to 140 within 3 weeks. I think I took the fight on 3 weeks' notice, cut to 140. Or I was like 141. But now, like, if I'm 157, like, I'll be the happiest kid in the world. Like, I'm nowhere near 157 at the moment. So.
Yeah, it's the same with me. Because of the injury and the nature of the training I'm doing now, I got as heavy as about 205. Maybe even before surgery, I was like 210, 215.
Yeah.
Fat, but lifting a lot of weights too, because that's all I could do.
Yeah.
Now I've slimmed down a bit. I'm at 200 pounds, but the goal now is to get down to about 185, 190 over the next couple months.
Yeah.
Rehab at this stage will allow me to diet down without hindering recovery. Might actually benefit a bit because it'll take some load off my knee.
Yeah.
But then in the stage of where I have to work on more agility, more speed, quick transfer of feet, transfer of weight rather. But then I won't be able to diet because that's going to be a bit more intense.
Yeah.
But right now I'm in a good spot where let's get some fat off the body because there's always a reason not to diet. Like, I've done this all the time. It's like, I can't diet now. I'm in fight camp. I'm training super hard. I save my weight cut for later. I try to come into camp at a good body weight.
Yeah.
And make the water cut the main thing I'm doing. And now when I blew up my knee, it's like, I can't diet now. I'm injured. I got to take care of this knee.
Yeah.
But at some point, you got to say, no, okay, like, stop being a fat motherfucker and lose the weight.
It's tough though, and like you like, for me, like, I diet, but then like something always gets in my way, like, I'm going to the movies tomorrow, so I might as well eat bad today, or like, I just trained for 3 hours, let me get a sandwich, eat some bread. For me, like, if I look at bread, like, I'm not losing any weight. So just about 2 weeks ago, I started really focusing on losing weight, and I'm down 9 pounds.
Oh, good.
But I was 185, and I'm going to 145.
Yeah.
And I thought I was low. Like, I thought I had lost some weight already. Because, like, back in, like, I don't know how big I was, but when I got back in January, so I hurt my back badly, couldn't walk, and then I went on an all-you-can-eat cruise.
Nice.
Like, a month later, around Christmas. So I already had all this, like, and I was like, well, I'm not training right now. I might as well just eat. Like, it's Christmas time. I might as well enjoy myself. And then I'm on a cruise that's, like, might as well eat this lobster and this creme brulee cheesecake, like, and then next thing you know, your pants don't fit.
That's right.
So, but yeah, like, so 9 pounds in 2 weeks is good, but like, I was killing myself. Like, I'm running every day and stuff like that. Today's a cheat day though. So
nice, good.
Yeah, had McDonald's breakfast this morning.
Ooh, nice.
Going on a solid 4 hours of sleep too.
Ooh, that sucks. Why?
Work? I did work, yeah. So I got home around 2:30 last night, and the DJing weddings can be really fun, but sometimes it could just be like when you're done, you just need to relax. Like, so I play a lot of video games, and then it was 4:30, went to bed, and my wife got me up at 8:30 with the dogs.
Yeah. When I used to bounce,
you deal with a lot of shit, I'm sure. Yeah.
No, not really. I think it's kind of similar to what you're describing. Is the nights can be kind of long, and I would get home around 3 a.m. On a good night.
Yeah.
And I'm not the type that I can just go straight to bed coming off of that.
Exactly.
I like to go home, maybe get a little meal in if I have time, and wind down for about 30 to 45 minutes, and then go to bed.
Yeah.
I can't just go home and let my head hit the pillow. I think it's just too much noise, right? Like you're in that crowd, it's noisy, the lights are flashing, all this shit.
Yeah, it's exactly.
You need to kind of power down before just jumping in bed.
Your adrenaline's up.
So it makes for long nights. You're in bed at 4, and then if you have stuff to do that morning, like if you got dogs or if you got the missus at home, she wants to do something, or if she
wants breakfast,
you gotta go. Maybe you gotta get your workout in, or you got something to do. So you're messing with your sleep. Honestly, since I've stopped bouncing, my sleep has been so much better, and just my mood overall, just from having a normal sleep routine, something I haven't had in, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Long time, but it's been great.
Yeah.
I don't miss it. Sorry to my bouncer friends and old bosses, but I don't miss it, and I'm not coming back.
Well, you have a 9 to 5 now, right?
That's right.
So
civilized now.
I was doing when I was doing drywall, I had to be at the shop at 7, at the venue at 7 that we were doing, and I would get up at like 4:45 and run, and then But then, so I would do that during the week, and then on Saturday night, I'd be up till 3. And it's just it's just so weird on my sleep schedule.
It's hard. It's very hard, and there's no real recovering from that. You're just kind of wearing at your recovery a bit.
Yeah. Slowly
but surely. You're just kind of slowly chipping at it. It's coming at a cost every week. It's not necessarily getting worse, but you're just a little bit,
Yeah.
You're brought down a notch,
Yeah. Yeah. And it kept me from training a lot. Like I try and make it to the gym, but then you get home and you're like a 30-minute drive to go punch and kick stuff and be exhausted. Like it's tough mentally sometimes to do it, especially if you're not training for a fight. Like if you're training for a fight, you can just go into that mental state where you just tell your body to shut up and you keep going, right?
Yeah, exactly. But no, if you're constantly missing out on a bit of sleep, something's got to give too, right? So you have to adjust your training or adjust your diet, and you got to find ways to make it work. But it's not going to be that 100% optimal circumstance.
Mm-hmm. So we were speaking of diet. What do you think about intermittent fasting? Because this has been everyone's been talking about it lately. My wife likes it. I'm against it. What do you think?
I think it's fine if it's just another strategy, right?
Yeah.
So if
as an athlete though, and a coach, what do you think?
Same thing, really. It's a strategy that will probably work for you. I guess the only criticism to intermittent fasting is there's nothing special about it in the sense that if you suddenly intermittent fast, you're going to lose weight faster, or it's this magical diet where if you're only eating in this 4, 6, or 8 hour window and you're fasting for the rest of the day, that triggers or makes any hormonal response or change that's going to help you lose weight. It's not. That's not what's happening. You still need to be in a caloric deficit, but you can use this intermittent fasting strategy to that might be a strategy for you to easier to stay in a caloric deficit easier. So a more sustainable way for someone to follow being in a deficit. So if that benefits someone for their schedule, their mood, their preferences, their dietary lifestyle preferences, then it's fine. But it's no better than just being in a caloric deficit and eating 6 meals a day throughout the day, or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
So I think that's the takeaway. Use it if you like it. So for me, when I'm just dieting to lose weight, say I'm not in a training camp, but I'm just trying to lose a few pounds, I won't intermittent fast, but I will sometimes skip the first meal and not eat until about noon or 1. So I spend those 8 hours sleeping, fasted, and then maybe another 4 or 5 hours during the day, fasted. But that's just for me to control calories overall.
Yeah.
But I don't always use the strategy, but sometimes I will. So again, it's just a tool or a method you can use to help you follow a caloric deficit.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's nothing magical to it.
Okay. People say like GSP claims that it cleared up his gut health and all this stuff.
I don't know much about the gut health stuff, but I don't think anyone does. It's the jury is still, is that the expression? The jury is still out on
the verdict. I guess so.
We don't know much about like all this like gut biome stuff, gut health stuff. It makes sense technically if you're not always eating, not always putting stress on the on your stomach and other organs, but that's, I guess, to be discovered later.
Yeah, he also had a horrible diet too beforehand.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what GSP's diet was like. I don't believe anything he was saying about. I was eating too much and I got to fight at 185 and got sick, so I got to vacate the belt. I believe that was always going to be a one and done. I'm fighting Bisping for the belt. I'm never defending it.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with my stomach. Intermittent fasting is just something I'm doing now that I like.
Yeah.
But it's got nothing to do with my gut health. Maybe he did have some gut problems, but it had nothing to do with overeating to fight at 85. He may very well have been sick during his training camp.
Yeah.
I don't buy it.
Yeah.
But,
that's
just my opinion.
Well, something similar happened to Brock Lesnar, right? Because he was eating so much.
Yeah, he had diverticulitis.
Because he wasn't eating enough fiber. I remember he used to he would be like eating burgers and then have to dip it, like he'd have to dip them in ketchup to get that extra caloric intake, right? Like, I just do that for joy, but yeah. So yeah, I 100% GSP was one and done. Like they saw an opportunity for him to go up, take a belt in not an easy fight, but a winnable fight at 185. Like I don't see GSP beating guys like Weidman and Luke Rockhold, and I love GSP to death, but at his age and those guys' his size, like those guys are 205ers fighting at 185, right? So
yeah, I wouldn't put anything past George. Like I think under the right circumstances, he's kind of like a Floyd Mayweather of MMA. If it's the right matchup at the right time, he probably beats just about anyone.
Yeah,
I'm a little biased, big GSP fan in that sense.
I'm too, yeah.
But no, it was an opportunistic fight against Bisping. I think I'm a big Bisping fan too. I think he's a quality fighter, very underrated. He doesn't get his due enough, especially for that Silva fight. People think, oh, Silva whooped his ass, knocked him out, blah blah blah.
I thought it was an interesting.
He kind of more or less whooped Silva's ass after getting knocked out. Mm-hmm. So and fought brilliantly. Yeah. Not many guys have outstruck Silva that way. But anyway,
I hated Bisping for the longest time until
he's a cheeky guy, right?
Until he won the championship, and then he kind of won me over, you know, like, and also he did that with one eye, like.
Yeah, man.
You ever see videos of like people jumping out and scaring him? Like he's so blind in one eye, it's incredible. Like so to be able to fight and to win a championship, it's pretty.
Bisping is a fighter's fighter. He's never turned any guy down, and he just fights. People say, "Oh, he kind of gets on his bike and runs around." I disagree. I don't really see that in him. Mm-hmm. He's not a power puncher, but to say that he just runs around and tries to outpoint you, like, no, he's pretty aggressive. He cuts you off. He's trying to be in your face and land more strikes. No, he's and he's funny as hell. Like
he is funny. Yeah, he's a good color commentator and
he's pretty decent. Yeah.
Not
my favorite, but he's good.
I used to hate him, and he won me over. Especially after that second Luke Rockhold fight, because I also really liked Luke, and then I started hating Luke Rockhold. Like Luke Rockhold, he's doing GQ models and stuff like that. Like
he's hard to listen to on the mic sometimes. Like I don't know if he's uncomfortable speaking in front of cameras or whatever.
Yeah,
but he doesn't come off great sometimes. So he can be annoying. And Bisping is so natural, so fluid, so funny. That like. He's just a bit wittier than some of those guys, so he's a lot more enjoyable to listen to.
Yeah. Bisping though, like he's had his ups and downs in his career. Like I remember one time where he fought Jimmy Rivera. Remember that fight?
Yeah, he whooped
his
ass.
But then he spit on his corner and stuff. It's like, come on, like we're just starting to like you here. Like you got to do all that stuff.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Did you watch the fights last night?
Yeah, not all of them. I caught a couple. So I watched Cage Warriors yesterday in the afternoon.
Yeah,
because
you like the Brits and the Irishmen.
Yeah, well, I trained at SBG in Ireland for 6 months, so I know the scene decently well because I got to live it for 6 months.
Yeah.
So I've been following since, and some guys that I trained with were defending their Cage Warriors belts, and the guy I fought in my pro debut was the main event, defending his welterweight championship. Fight actually ended in a no contest. It was a very bloody fight. He was fighting Nicholas Dalby, who's a UFC vet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I knew that the name did sound a little familiar.
Yeah, so he was defending the belt against Nicholas Dalby, who was also the interim champ for some reason. I think it's because Ross was inactive for a bit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he was injured or whatever. So anyway, they were going to... How do they call that? They were going to unify both belts, but Ross was the real champ. End of the first round, Ross lands a very nice elbow, pretty high though, like right on the top of the forehead, slicing Dalby open. Huge gash, really big cut, and he was just pissing blood. And we're like, oh fuck, this fight might get stopped.
Yeah.
Then we go to round 2. The cutman did a really good job covering that up. And beginning of round 2, Dalby lands 2 good right hands. Pretty sure he broke Ross's nose because it was pissing blood after.
Yeah.
And for the rest of that round. By the time they get to round 3, they're both covered in blood. The canvas is covered in blood. They're using a nylon canvas, so it's very slippery.
Yeah.
So they're just kind of slipping and sliding. They've both lost a ton of blood. And the referee, Mark Goddard, was starting to get really concerned at how much blood both guys had lost.
Wow.
And it was so slippery that they're like, this is not a safe environment.
Yeah.
Which is funny to think, 2 guys getting in a fist fight and worried about a safe environment.
But
it is a valid concern. So it's a 5-round fight. The fight gets stopped at the end of round 3. No contest. Unsafe to continue.
Really? I've never heard that.
Yeah, it was. I was more than okay with the call because it was a disgusting fight to watch.
I fought in the rain one time. They didn't even call that. It was outside. Yeah. We show up at this venue and it's this giant tent and we're like, okay, well, so we're gonna be under a tent. No, they put the cage outside of the tent. And the tent was for the people watching. I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. So they had to stop in between rounds and mop. So the round breaks were longer.
Was it a canvas, like more cloth?
No, it was
or not like a nylon. It was plastic
nylon, yeah.
Kind of.
Guys were sliding all over the place. So.
Man, that's dangerous, man. I've injured. Well, that's how I blew out my knee in my last fight.
Yeah.
BTC. I don't want to say they're using a cheap canvas. They're using a canvas that's not ideal. Yeah. That night, that whole fight card was a slip and slide fest. When I shot for a takedown, my trailing foot, so my back leg slipped. All the weight shifted to my knee, and again, slippery canvas. Blew out my knee completely, fully torn ACL, partially torn lateral meniscus, all because I shot for a takedown on a slippery canvas.
Yeah.
In training, I've had a minor knee injury, same thing. Really humid night at the gym.
Yeah, it's
slipped.
It's so slippery.
Sprained my knee. Yeah. Like, man, that's just dangerous. So stopping the fight because the canvas is so slippery because of all the blood, it's legit.
It's a smart move. Yeah.
But they had both lost so much blood that, like, I think that must have been a concern too. Like, man, like another 10 minutes of those guys just pissing on each other. Like,
it's better to stop it early and like people be upset than risk something. Like at the end of the day, it is a sport, and like, yes, people want to see blood and cuts and stuff, but if it becomes too unsafe where you can risk like a severe injury, then you got to cut it out, right? So but yeah, so you had a doctor. Well, we had the same doctor at BTC, and Kevin was telling me how good the doctor was for you, and he was so bad for me. Like, he called your injury right away, didn't he? Like, he knew exactly what was wrong. And
so his guess was ACL and lateral meniscus, and he was correct. And that's a very tough call to make because I had medical students testing the knee, physical therapists, the lead doctor, like above the med students. I don't know, just regular doctor, sports doctor. Anyway, they're all doing the ACL test, and they're like, it's probably torn, but there's really no way to tell because without doing the MRI, because you're an active guy, you've got a good strength background, your hamstring is very strong. And the hamstring is what mimics the ACL.
Yeah.
So they were like, you got a big, strong hamstring. So it's hard to say. Like if you were some inactive person or like an old lady or something, we could tell right away. Get the MRI. They're like, yeah, you have no ACL. It's gone. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, awesome. Very cool.
But it was the right call. Sorry, I keep seeing someone walk by outside, so that's why I'm but so it was the right call, right? Like.
Yeah, no, he called it. Now, he wasn't so good at doing stitches. Luckily for me, they're on the back of my head. My opponent, Kyron Cameron, elbowed me a few times in the back of the head. But, I mean, that's going to happen.
It's a fight. Like, I know people get really upset about it. Like,
I don't really mind it. Like, it's...
we're trying to protect ourselves, so we're turning our head. They're trying to hit us in the face.
Yeah, I got him pinned against the fence going in on a double. And he's trying to elbow my face inside of my head, so he's going to accidentally hit me a bit, especially at this level. Like we're not 20 fights deep fighting in the UFC. Like that was his Kyron's pro debut. It was my third fight.
Yeah,
you're gonna expect some foul play.
Yeah, like my last fight, the ref kept like the guy actually was headbutting me, but the ref kept saying like no elbowing in the back of the head, and I was hurt, right? Like so I wasn't fighting properly, so I was just trying to protect myself. Like I was kind of like hanging on for dear life, but he was like kept elbowing me in the ears, and then like he'd elbow me in the back of the head and stuff, and the ref was getting pretty upset about that. But like I was just like, I don't care, like that's not the issue right now, is him elbowing me. That doesn't hurt. Like I know he's trying to elbow me in the face because that's gonna hurt, right? Like but my eardrums were all swollen after, so that was pretty painful. But so when I fought at BTC, I had the same doctor. I thought the stitches he gave me were good. It was the first time I ever needed stitches in my life, and they were in my nose and eye. And he just like didn't tell me that I broke my nose. So like the next week, like I went back to training with some stitches in, and like one person hit me in the face, and like then I went and did like a seminar, and some guy elbowed me in the face, and I was like, this hurts so bad. Like it was the worst pain I ever felt. And then people were just like, yeah, you have a broken nose. But then it was too late. I couldn't get it reset, and
yeah, same. I couldn't reset mine either.
Yeah, you had yours reset though.
No. So they didn't mess with the bone when I had surgery.
Oh, okay.
So, I broke my nose 2 years ago.
I was with you. I drove you home.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You were the hero that day.
I definitely wasn't.
I broke my nose. The bone didn't move too much. Like people can't notice it much unless they really look and feel it.
Yeah.
Got the mic there.
Yeah.
But something I had before even breaking the nose was, I think I had about 50% of one pathway blocked, and the other one was blocked at about 80. So I was not breathing optimally before the break.
Yeah.
And then when I had it assessed after the break, they're like, okay, so now one's like pretty much 100% blocked, and the other one's like 75, 80, whatever number they gave me. So they're like, now you're really not breathing well. So now I was finally a good candidate for the surgery where they operate on the nasal conchas. They're kind of like these little bones, but they're not bones, that float up deep in the pathways. So they fixed all that. They took all the inflammation out. It's a really good surgery. And also they fixed the deviation of the septum, which now was very deviated because the nose was broken.
Yeah.
Luckily, the surgery was a success, and now I can breathe great.
Better?
It improved my cardio, but more importantly, it improved my quality of life.
Yeah?
My sleep, everything.
Okay. My nose has been bothering me a little bit since I broke it, but not tremendously. Like, it's more like I pick things out of it. Like, it just like, it feels like there's something always in there, right?
Yeah,
but
no, for sure.
I love telling the story, like, about us going up to TriStar, and like, you and Zach were like, I don't want to spar Mandel. I don't want to spar Mandel. No. Mandel saw you guys come into that room, and he lit up. He was like, you guys want to spar 2 and 3? He's such a good guy. He's a nice guy, but yeah.
I don't know him. He's not to me.
He's always been nice.
I don't know him. I've sparred with him a handful of times. Every time we've sparred, I've walked out of the sparring session not injured but hurt.
Yeah.
Black eyes, very mild bruising to the ribs, or like messed up leg, or
That's them though. They I was talking to someone up there because I was up there 2 weeks ago, and they said when a new person comes into the gym and they don't know you, like they have to go to work on you just because. Like they've got a reputation to keep up. Like I was sparring for Ross's brother, and he gave me a black eye.
I don't know what reputation they have to keep up because they don't fight like that. Except Mendel. Mendel's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
But TriStar, what reputation is it? Is it the reputation that they're a premier gym? Because we already know that. They've produced a lot of good fighters. They've got a handful of guys that are just like basically have careers fighting in the UFC, even if they're not the highest level. Yeah. It's very hard. They've got guys like Nordine Taleb who've been fighting in the UFC for years. Yeah, he's not a top contender, but it doesn't look like he's getting cut anytime soon.
Yeah.
And so they have career fighters, so they're really good for that. And then they've got guys like George who are like the best of the best. But maybe they should fight like that when they're in the cage because I'm just gonna say it and this is not an insult by any means, but. If you're having trouble sleeping at night, put on a TriStar Fighters UFC fight. You'll go right to sleep. They'll bore you to death with jabs and takedowns. And that's fine. Like I'm a boring fighter too, but I don't give a shit. Yeah. I'm not telling anyone that my fighting style is exciting.
Yeah.
I go out there and do what I want to do, and that's it. But they go out there and they look like they're just play sparring when they're fighting, and then they lose a close decision. And they're like, "Oh, what happened?" It's like, "Well, you didn't fight."
Yeah.
So I don't know what the reputation is, but and back to Mendel. The guy breaks my nose. I tell him I don't want to spar you. I must have said it 10 times. Like I'm not sparring you. I am fighting in a week, and the guy I'm fighting is like every bit of 5'8" and a southpaw, and you're every bit of 6 feet.
5, yeah.
You're you're at least 6 feet tall. You're lanky. You're orthodox. You're a good striker. The guy I was fighting at the time was not a good striker. Yeah. He was more of a wrestler, kind of grindy kind of guy. So like, there's no point in sparring you right now. It's my last sparring session at camp, and I tell him all of this. Clear as I could, and he's like, "Yeah, it's cool. We'll go light." I'm like, "I know that." So I was like, you know what? It's fine. He's never injured me before.
Yeah.
He'll rough me up a bit. I'll get through it. All I have to do is manage my distance well, try to close the distance when I can to clinch. And I was doing all those things, but of course he's still whooping my ass while I'm doing it. But I'm safe. And now I'm stuck against the fence. He throws like a nice big hard right hand. Boom. Breaks my nose. Comes up to me at the end of sparring. He's like, I'm like, yeah, I think my nose is broken. And he's like, oh, it's probably not broken. I'm like, yeah, maybe not. And he's like, it's it's going to be a little tender, but like you'll probably be okay for your fight next week. It's like, no, but you'll be okay for your fight in a couple of weeks where you're making a lot more money than I am.
Yeah.
And you just set me back a year because you wanted to spar. No, like, is that a nice guy? Not to me. He might be the nicest guy in theory or like in his personal life or whatever, but that was not a nice thing to do. So
that sucks.
I'm over it.
Yeah,
but I'm just
it doesn't sound like it.
No, I am absolutely. Because like, this shit happens.
I don't think
he didn't mean to break my nose.
Yeah,
but I don't think he lost any sleep over it.
No,
maybe he shouldn't. Yeah. But in that situation, that's not the sign of a nice person.
Yeah.
He has no obligation to be nice to me, but I have no obligation to spar him either.
See,
so
like
I was being too nice in that situation.
I ended up finishing the round.
Yeah, you did.
Because there was like a minute and a half left or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's just because he just hurt someone, but like he was playing with me, like what I kind of would expect, right? Like, but yeah, that's like, I'm sure you're not the first person he's hurt either. Like
I doubt it.
He's a violent striker, right? And he knows it. Like
I love watching the guy fight. Like, very entertaining, very good. Really like his style. But
yeah,
no, like
when I
not a nice guy to me.
Yeah. So like when I say I love telling the story, it's not because like you got hurt, but it's just the way everything happened. Like, you like I remember getting out of the cage and you had an ice pack on. I didn't know you broke your nose yet, right? Like I didn't know what happened in the ring or in the cage, and you take off your ice pack and your nose is visibly broken. Like,
yeah, it was pretty obvious, pretty clear.
And I was like, you were like, I think my nose is broken. You take this ice pack off, and I had a broken nose at the time because I was wearing that. Remember, because we were supposed to fight on that same card.
That's right.
I didn't want to fight on that card because I had a broken nose, so I went down with that visor.
Yeah.
I couldn't see shit. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty broken. And then, but you're a tough guy. You were like, I think I'm still gonna fight next weekend. Like,
I really considered it, and I thought about it for a long time because camp went extremely well.
Yeah.
And it was devastating at the time to for everything to go really well. I had some small injuries. That's where I sprained my knee slipping on the mat.
Yeah.
It was at the beginning of camp. So some minor things.
Yeah.
But fitness-wise, game plan-wise, everything was going super well. I was very excited to fight. I hadn't fought in a year at that time.
Yeah.
And I lost that chance.
And it was in our, your hometown or where you live and stuff. So
yeah, like I'd always wanted to fight for rec. I'd volunteered at so many rec shows since I started because I trained at Owama for 6 years, so I was very familiar with
watching their
that.
shows.
To this day, I would still love to fight at Lac Leamy at the Hilton Casino and Hall, having volunteered and been to so many of those shows. To this day, I would still love to fight there.
I would too. Like I obviously when rec came back, like when the first time they came back when I was supposed to be on the card and fighting Justin, like we were talking earlier. Like I was very excited because again, like I never went to a rec show, but like I always watched videos of like I remember doing jiu-jitsu tournaments at Bushido when I was like a white belt and being like, oh, Nabil, like look him up and see all his rec fights and thinking that he was good.
Well, like at the time, maybe not during the rec things, but like before that, you say what you want about Nabil, but I mean he had a few wins and like he was one of the better. He's a bit of a pioneer for Ottawa MMA.
Very exciting to watch, that's for sure. Yeah, like he plants his feet and swings. Like
I mean, as far as pioneers for the Ottawa scene go, you've got Nabil, you've got Mark Holst, you've got
Denis fought on them too. Didn't
Nick
he?
Denis, of course. Nick, he went to the UFC.
Yeah.
So did Mark. You got, I guess, for the guys who didn't make it to the UFC but were good Ottawa guys. Was there Craig Brown was a bit of a name on those
Farmer?
cuts.
Yeah, Farmer is a great guy. Yeah.
I can't remember anyone else, but
didn't Jeff Jocelyn fight on rec a bit too?
I don't know.
Okay.
He's not from here though. Is he from Toronto?
He's from Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Yeah. Jeff Jocelyn's a big. If you ever bored, watch some of his videos. He's a great analyst and commentator and stuff.
He's got a good gym, good team.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was excited, and then unfortunately, 3 days before, like I wasn't injured or anything like that, or nobody was injured, but just got pulled off the card. But then I got the opportunity to go to California. I've never been, and I loved it, and got to fight on a good show, and against a good opponent, and unfortunately, I lost. But what can you do? It's a good show.
No, that happens. Like
Hanato Lejanero or whatever his name is. You know who I'm talking about? Eddie Bravo's friend.
Oh, Hanach. Yeah.
Hanach. He was the ring announcer.
Nice.
Another the color commentator. So he trash talked me the whole time. The judge was Judo Jean LaBelle.
No way.
Yeah. So it was a pretty cool card.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be worse. You could have Robin Black calling your fights. I had Robin Black call my last one. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You didn't do too bad with me, but man, when that guy's calling fights on TKO, he's got a narrative that he's trying to push in MMA. I don't like it. I think a lot of people shouldn't. Like, this guy he's something else. Like, have we forgotten that this guy used to be this Much Music glam pop, whatever the fuck he was doing?
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, nothing against that.
No, he used to wear,
he was successful in that, right?
Yeah.
He's successful in MMA too, but man, he's not a good color comment. Like, he could be, but he's so busy pushing this modern fighter narrative where nothing is incorrect and the old way is the wrong way, and he's got a lot of weird ideas, and a lot of it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. I got offered to fight him one time.
Man. So did Jeff Chan once back in the day.
Oh yeah, Jeff Chan would annihilate him.
Oh, he would have murdered. This was back when Jeff was still very young too. Like he was fighting pro, but I got maybe the grappling wasn't quite there yet. But Jeff is awesome. He's killing it now. I got
offered to fight Jeff at that rec show as well after the Justin thing fell through, and Charles Jourdain. Unfortunately, I didn't take either of them. Because both of them were at 45, and I was walking around at 140. Now, obviously, I'm fight at 45, but at the time, I was walking around at 146. I was 146 3 days before the fight. I hadn't cut a drop of water, and I felt really good. So it's
those are tough fights to take on a last
bigger guys,
and an opponent switch that quick,
And both of them were, they're fantastic strikers, right? So I got to get the fight to the ground. I'm not the best at takedowns. I'm going to be smaller than them, so it was a lot to consider. And then I lost my job that same day, or the day after. So it was just
this game is tough.
It was just a mess of things, so decided not to take it. But then went and fought another stud, like a BJJ brown belt, purple belt world champ.
Oh shit!
In no-gi, and he's supposed to fight Ray Borg in the UFC recently, and then he just.
Is he? He's in the UFC now.
Yeah, so he fought on Contenders. He won a knockout in Contenders, like a 30-second knockout. Then went on the Ultimate Fighter, the undefeated season.
Okay, yeah. A guy I trained with in Ireland was on that season.
Yeah,
Richie Smullen.
Okay.
He ended up losing to Bob Ross in the finale.
Okay.
It wasn't the actual finale. It was just they were on the finale card. On the card.
Kyler lost. He got onto the house because he won the Contender fight. He didn't fight, and then he lost his fight in the house, and then. But it was kind of interesting because I was in a bar for my brother's bachelor party, and we were watching a basketball game. It's NBA playoffs or whatever on, and Ultimate Fighter comes on TSN, giant jumbotron and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I fought this kid,
nice.
Because they're interviewing him, and not realizing that it was the night that he was fighting. I wasn't watching the Ultimate Fighter at the time, and then all of a sudden they start showing clips of me and him fighting. So I'm in this bar with a bunch of people that don't watch fighting, and they don't even know me. And then all of a sudden, just giant jumbotrons have me getting punched and calf slicered in the face on, and I'm looking around, nobody's noticing it's anything on TV. I'm like, this is cool, but yeah. So it was a good experience, but
no, for sure, man. It's the same with me. The guy I fought in my first fight, Ross Houston. We talked about him just now. Defended his belt. Well, no contest.
Yeah.
But, he's Cage Warriors welterweight champ, undefeated, 8-0, doing great. I took that fight on, I think, 6 days' notice.
Long time, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good fight, close fight, for all things considering. I was in a weird state when I took that fight. I was not in the right state of mind when I took that fight on short notice. Was also not. I was training full time. Obviously, I was over there in Ireland training at SBG full time. But there's a big difference between your general conditioning and your fight specific conditioning.
Yeah,
and it definitely showed in that fight. I was not physically prepared to go 3 5-minute rounds. I kind of knew that going in.
Yeah,
but I didn't think it was going to be that bad.
Yeah,
I was pretty gassed after the first round.
Speaking of Jeff Chan, I don't know if you were at one of his fights. Did you ever go to his fight in Belleville?
No, I was training at Awama at the time. I think this was around the time maybe I was starting to slowly get into MMA. I was doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu pretty much exclusively for the first few years.
Okay.
And then I switched to, but he fought Dan Ireland.
Yeah, so I trained with Dan Ireland.
Right.
Okay.
I hear he's a tomato can.
That's...
I don't know the guy. I don't want to insult him. I hope he's not listening.
He's a tomato can from Value Village.
Okay. I thought you were going to defend him.
No. And hopefully he's not listening. He keeps trying to fight, and good for him. I don't have a great record. Right?
Neither do I. I'm 1-2, and I'll the first one to admit it.
And I'm 1-4. But I've had some good fights and hard fights, but I never took a fight that I didn't think I could win. I knew I could win.
That's important, I think.
And it showed in there. Maybe I had my ups and downs in the rings and stuff like that. But so his first fight, now mind you, he didn't have any amateur experience. He's a white belt in jiu-jitsu. Like, he was getting beat up by the amateurs in the gym, like me and my friend Grant Weber and everyone else there. He goes and fights Ali Aubin for his debut. Professional debut.
Okay.
And we, like, you know, I'm a white belt, and I saw Aubin compete in a grappling tournament. It was Aubin's second pro fight. And I was like, what do you... And I saw Aubin fight on Hybrid and stuff like that. I was like, this isn't a good fight for you. Like, 1, he's bigger than you. 2, he's better than you. And 3, you don't have a chance. Like, he's just better than you everywhere. Like, maybe you got a puncher's chance, cool, but...
Yeah, that's not enough of a reason
he's
to
gonna
take
grab
a fight.
you. He's going to flip you on your neck, and he's going to choke you out.
You don't want to... You know, I think this is a big problem with combat sports in general.
Yeah,
is there is that opportunity to jump the line is the wrong thing, but you can kind of just dive in and be way in over your head. Yeah. You're like not in the right talent pool at all. You're not in that right competition level.
Yeah,
and that's a big problem. Not just with the regulation, but just the attitude people have towards the sport. I think you can be like, like both of us, we could next year, like we could compete at the world championships in jiu-jitsu just by paying for registration and going, despite having no business there. Yeah, not that we're bad grapplers, but we have no business there.
Oh yeah,
like even at
jiu-jitsu,
I'm confident when I say that I would not medal at the world championships at blue belt in the gi, not only just because I don't train in the gi much at all, or because because I'm not competing much, but those guys are training year round and competing pretty much year round to win the world championship at blue belt.
Yeah.
It's there's levels to this, a world championship level. But you could just show up. You can just show up, and people do that, and I think it's a bad idea. You need to know where you stand. You need to be objective.
Yeah.
And pick your tournaments wisely, and it should be ramping up. Yeah. And it's the same with MMA. You shouldn't just go pro right off the bat. This isn't 2010.
Yeah.
You could have done that back then. You can't do that now. You need to have some amateur experience. I know it's hard in Canada right now to get the amateur experience sometimes.
It's getting better, but
it's getting a lot better. But still has a bit of a ways to go. But there's a system. Like, you need to know where you stand, and you should be getting better over time, and so should your level of opposition.
Yeah. Like, I had 16 fights before I went pro.
Yeah. 16
amateur fights. Like, that's quite a bit.
That's a lot, especially considering you started fighting amateur what year?
2011.
Yeah, that's a ton. That's a lot.
Yeah. And like I had 2 years where I had about 5 fights, and then I had a year off where I didn't fight. But I was still training nonstop, right? Because that was the thing. Like, I had 2 fights. They were good amateur fights, and I won them. And then next thing you know, I'm fighting. Or I had a third fight where I fought a guy that had 5 amateur fights, and that's a big jump, right? Like, and technically, like, you know, I think we were on the same page, but he was more experienced in fighting.
Yeah. And
he got the win, and that was in hybrid. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, well, now I got to get back in there. And then I fought a guy that was way out of my league, and, you know, and I didn't get stopped or anything like that. And I came close to, like, the closest I've ever come to knocking out anybody in my life, but he shot for a takedown as I threw a kick, and my knee just hit him in the face. And in hybrid, you're just wearing those high boost shin pads. Remember those? Yeah. Or you could wear your own shin pads. I forget what it was, but so my knee hit him in the face and he dropped. So I was like, but that was a mistake. Well, not a mistake, but I meant to do it. But I'm not allowed to knee him in the face. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I got
you. But yeah, so like you get yourself into like a situation where, you know, you're a little bit mismatched, and in amateur, it's okay because, you know, you're only fighting for 6 minutes. You're fighting with big gloves on, shin pads. You can't get seriously hurt. No elbows or knees. You know, you go pro, and next thing you know, you've got this world-class grappler like Ali Aubin on top of you, or you're fighting Jeff Chan in a cage and you can't hit him.
Yeah, it's very dangerous when you're looking at it that way.
Because so I was at that. I asked because I was at that Jeff Chan fight, and my coach knew about Jeff Chan. Didn't want him to take the fight, and Dan was just a guy who just did what he wanted to do.
A lot of that in combat.
but like my coach knew Jeff Chan from the Muay Thai and the kickboxing circuit. And he's just like, you don't want to do this. Like you don't stand a chance. And I think maybe he thought he could beat him on the ground, but I don't even think he shot a takedown. And
probably wouldn't have either, because even though Jeff was still lower level jiu-jitsu, he was still had good basics and was still, he was training at Awama. Awama has great jiu-jitsu.
Grapplers,
still do. Shout out to actually Cameron Florchak, brown belt at Awama, just got married.
I saw that on the weekend, yeah.
Yeah, congrats to him. But no, they still have some guys really killing it.
Some fantastic grapplers. Some of the best grapplers I know came out of Awama. Like Mateo, I think Mateo's the best grappler in TKO.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I've trained with Mateo for years. He's an excellent grappler. I'm going to be biased here because you just said Awama probably produced some of the best grapplers in the city. I would say overall that's probably true. I would throw myself in there for like MMA grappling. I think I'm up there as well. I think, but you've got Mateo. You've got guys who are still at Awama. Justin Primrose and Cameron are probably the best grapplers in the city because they're constantly proving it by competing at the highest level. Yep. Eric Nadon has been there for a few years. Eric is awesome. There are other really great guys in the city too. Arcana has so many of them. I love going over there to train.
Like,
they don't have competitors, but as far as just straight up grapplers, amazing. Mm-hmm. And other guys that Awama helped produce. Shout out to Joel Haddon, who is training at Atos now.
Yeah.
And Brandon McGordy.
I've never grappled him, but I hear he's fantastic.
He's amazing.
Yeah. And did Peter start at Awama or?
Peter Physique is a Awama original. Peter's awesome.
He's an incredible black belt. Yeah.
He was probably one of my favorite jiu-jitsu coaches at Awama. Really cool guy. I really like Peter.
Absolutely, yeah. And I would go train with them a little bit. And when Mateo was first starting out in MMA, because they just were looking for smaller MMA guys to help him. He beats the piss out of me. But Peter was just always so nice and helpful and stuff like that, and just fantastic grappler.
Very good grappler. Very open-minded, which was nice because Awama was very. They had their system and their favorite moves, and they really swore by that. And I think because Peter started younger and smaller, some of those moves maybe didn't work for him or his style or his personality or whatever, right? So he had a bit more of a wider array of techniques or different strategies and styles. So I really liked learning from him. I started learning a lot of. That was kind of my first introduction to leg locks was through him. So I can thank Peter for that.
First Imanari roll yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, in sparring. Yeah.
Sick.
I tried it on Kevin. Didn't go so well. Then I tried it on Zach, and it went real bad. But
yeah, I'll give a shout out to the gym I'm at now, Evolution. Like Dan is a grappling wizard, and
he is.
I appreciate Dan a lot because I showed up at the gym. A guy who had been training at Awama for 6 years, then in Ireland for 6 months. Show up to Evolution. It's like, okay, like. We're like,
well, yeah.
What to expect? I don't know what to expect. Maybe Dan doesn't know what he's going to get with me. But Dan was very supportive of me, like kind of doing my own thing. Like I was working on leg locks heavily, and he gave me an opportunity to, because it sounds silly, but 5 years ago, if you were doing leg locks in the gym, you were an asshole or you were a weirdo.
Yeah.
And even 2 years ago when I started at Evolution, like leg locks were still kind of taboo, even though they were starting to become very effective and popular.
There's a few guys at Evolution that I would go and train during the day, and they were hunting leg locks. Remember Evgeny?
Yeah, I wouldn't say he was hunting effective or great leg locks. No. He was just kind of a grab on your leg and aggressively attack it with Estima locks and stuff.
Yeah.
Or like the
spiral
toe hold.
But you come from a gym that doesn't do that, and then you start dealing with that stuff. It's a little tricky,
Yeah. But yeah, like I'll say, thanks to Dan for being open-minded enough in grappling to let me experiment and give me guidance in that sense, because that can be hard to come by at a gym. Sometimes they're like, no, like we have our way. This is our way. This is what we want you to do.
Yeah.
So it's good to have a gym where they are open for experimentation. So Evolution's been great for me in my development that way. And they have a lot of great grapplers too.
Yeah.
Not a lot of competitors right now. It seems to be tough to breed a competition team.
It comes and goes,
Comes and goes. But yeah, solid grapplers. Vince is amazing.
Yeah.
Zach and Kevin are very good.
Kevin's,
my buddy Joseph is there now, but he's in the Walmart original too.
Yeah. Tony was there. I forget Tony's last name, but he's a black belt.
Yeah.
He's amazing grappler.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah.
They've got a handful of good guys at Evolution too, very technical guys.
And the thing I love about Dan is like you ask him for help on something, like he would literally spend an hour helping you, and like
he's very very generous with his time because he loves jiu-jitsu so much that it's almost annoying. You're like, how are you still so enthusiastic about this?
Yeah.
We all still are, but with Dan, with having done it for so many years, given his age, running a gym, all this stuff, he's still like almost like a white belt in a sense where he just
wants to learn. Yeah,
he's like always at it.
Yeah, and all the injuries he's had, he's always there training. Like I've seen that guy have trouble walking and then get on the mat and sub everybody.
Yeah, he's a very very inspiring guy to come back from a stroke. He suffered a stroke at a young age, which I that's not easy to. No. That's like you get over it, but you never really truly get over it in the sense that there are some things that kind of stick with you. Like some people still have nerve issues or strength issues after.
Yeah.
And Dan is still a beast.
He is. All right, bud. Let's end on that note. We went over just over an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh damn!
It goes quick, eh?
It goes really quick.
Yeah.
Felt like we. There was actually some things I wanted to talk about. I can't even remember, but we didn't even get a chance to cover it.
That means you just got to come back.
That's right.
I'm trying to get some more mics. It's just a matter of just spending the money. Just because I got to buy like a new. It's called the interface. This is an interface.
Okay.
And so that's $200, and then another $200 and a mic and stuff like that. So because I want to get you and Kevin on, and then you and Zach,
get the whole click on.
The whole click, yeah. And then we're gonna make new shirts that say the click, eh?
Oh yeah,
Kevin's.
Nice.
Yeah, I might get one. I might get invited.
Oh, you're definitely part of it. So.
Yeah, as you can see, Joey is wearing. If you're watching the video, Joey is wearing a Good Morning Julia shirt.
Oh, it's laundry day at my household.
So Kevin, who's been on the show before, he makes these T-shirts.
Kevin is kind of like the click assistant, or like the click admin assistant.
Yeah. So he makes these T-shirts, and so I just want one day I want to be part of the group to get a T-shirt.
Yeah, you got to get one because you're definitely part of it. As anyone who's sparring with us on Saturdays is an official member.
Yeah,
I am the president of the clique, so I make these calls.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I've been doing it for a few years with you guys, on and off. But...
Oh yeah, you are certainly a member.
All right, sweet man. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Get you back on soon.
Yep, soon because we got a lot of stuff to talk about.
All right.